Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. This is Janet Dermody here with Stacey Girard. I am showing a picture right now of the current location of the Pallet Shelter up in Sackville. And in the meantime, just queuing up a poem that I'm going to share with you all, okay? So bear with me. We're going to be reading a poem that's quite important to what we're doing here. So this takes a moment to queue it up because Facebook loves to change when you have things. Okay, I think this is the right one. No. Here we go. All right. So this is from Guardians of Recovery, Tina Olivieri. I met her and did a show with her last week. So this is the words if you were an addict. So this is I need to get high. Okay. This was written by Nadine Patey. And I don't know if it's copyrighted, but let's read it. I need to get high. I am not your child or spouse or friend. I've changed. I don't belong to anyone anymore. I don't belong to you anymore. Apologies. I don't care about you. Not in the way you want me to. I care about getting high. I want to get high. I will do anything to get high. I love getting high. I need to get high. I will step over you to do it. When I look at you, I don't see you. I see a means to an end. You have money. I want it. End of story. I don't care if you can't pay the rent. I don't care if you need groceries. I don't care if you promised you wouldn't give me money again. I don't care if you lie to dad. I don't care if you're broke. Sell your rings, take a loan, sell your electronics, max out your credit cards, borrow the money from someone else, because if you don't, I will steal it. I will find a way to get high. You think you can change me or save me? You're wrong. Something cold and dead slithers within me. I no longer respond to love or truth. You can cry all you want. I don't care. I have no integrity or values. My morals are a thing of the past. I will say anything, do anything, and hurt anyone to get my next fix. Although I may play the game with you, make no mistake. I don't play it because I love you. I play it because I want my dope. I will say whatever you want to hear. I will promise you the world. I will look into the eyes. I will break your heart over and over again. I don't have a heart anymore. I have a hunger. It's calculating and manipulative, and it owns me. In a strange way, you're thankful for this hunger, for when I feel it coming on, I find you quickly. Then, what I've gotten, what I want, I leave. You're anxious without me. You offer to buy me food or pay my rent. You always give me something. By now, your need is almost as great as mine. I can't stick sick without you, okay? I can't stay sick without your help, okay? You can't breathe without me. You think you're helping me. You believe you're making a difference, but what you're really doing is you're helping my addiction. I won't tell you this, but you know it deep down. If we keep going like this, one or both of us will die. Me from an overdose that you paid for, and you from a heart attack or stroke. You'll wait years for me to change or see the light, and I take full advantage of this. You keep my secrets and protect my lies. You clean up my messes. You bail me out. You love me to the exclusion of everyone else. You are bitter and resentful. You hide from friends and you isolate. You hate. Your world revolves around one thing only, me. But will your love ever become greater than your fear? Would you be strong enough to reach out for help? Will you learn to say no? Will you allow me to experience the consequences of my actions? Will you love me enough to feel your own discomfort and stop enabling my addiction? I lay trapped within the confines of this cold, dark serpent, addiction, and I am dying. Now, when I read that poem, how does that make you feel? Because those are the words of an addict. And when we keep places like the Alley Center, the places that are enabling harm reduction, safe injection sites, we are never going to fix our addicted people. And it's always going to contribute to a homeless problem. We're not against homeless. We're against the way that they're being treated. They shouldn't be given a safe supply of drugs, because from what I have learned, safe supply of drugs get sold so that they could use money to buy the good drugs, is what we're told. Now, in the meantime, I would like to introduce again Stacey Girard, who is up in Sackville and who has firsthand knowledge of pallets that are already been in place at the Sackville location. Stacey, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So tell us about tell us, since the pallet shelters went in, when did they get put in place in Sackville?
Well, there's actually been pallets. Well, they call them pods. They're like a first generation pallet. Has been there since about December of 2022. So they've been there a
Oh,
long time. There's about
okay.
6 of them. A lot of people didn't even know they were there, not because of things happening,
Mhm.
because there's definitely been things happening, but because you can't see them from the road. They've
Ah,
been beside a shelter, so they've been hidden away, and then now they've actually, I'm not even sure the number, I wanna say 19. They've added new pallet homes, and they have just opened up, as in, like, the last week or 2.
hmm.
So they've just started to, I don't wanna say, like, pump people in, but, like, filling them up.
So this picture on the screen right now, can you explain to us what we're looking at here?
Okay, so the red dot is the Beacon House shelter. So that actually is an old church. It used to be a warming center, so it was very limited hours, very limited times. They mostly opened up like in the winter or sometimes summer, like, maybe people need to do laundry, grab a bite to eat, something quick. Eventually that turned into a shelter. Like, I think there's about 20 to 25 people in there. I'm not sure on the exact number. And to the right of that dot, beside where that path is, yeah, that's a path that connects, behind, there's actually pods there. So they are like the first
Okay.
generation pods. And that blue line is
Hmm.
literally how close of a walk it is to the junior high school.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
in here is where the gated community of pallets are, and this is the path to the school.
Yeah, that's just walking the street, and it looks a lot farther, but, like, you could probably stand where, like, the main road is, Metropolitan, and just look right at, like, it is not like, that makes it look like it's far, but
Hmm.
it's no, like, it's not
Well, it says
far.
210 meters. That's not far at all. That's you can
No,
throw a
that's
rock.
not even
Yeah,
close to
you
being.
could throw a rock that distance. And they're
Yep,
trying to use the same thing here in Sydney, saying that the school and the daycares aren't that close. Well, I mean, you don't need to trip over something for it to be close
yeah.
enough to cause
Oh,
an
yeah,
issue,
if you had a paintball, like, maybe it would hit the school by then. Like, it is
right?
that close. Like,
Right.
it's crazy close.
So a lot of people here feel that the pallets are going to change the conditions of what's going on with how they live in the homeless encampments. So say you're in a tent, people are thinking, when we look at this picture, this is one of the actual pallets from the Sackville
Yeah,
area.
that's a first gen pod. So that's one that's at the very corner of the parking lot, literally behind the shelter, that you can't, like, it's not visible from the road. If you're just driving by, you would not have noticed unless maybe it was a regular occurrence, but like,
But this is still in the middle of the residential area that we've seen.
yep,
Yes. All right. So what I'm noticing here is garbage. Now,
yep.
this garbage looks like it's been there a while, and I'm seeing a stove over here. So in the ones in Sydney, they're saying they're going to have a kitchen area, and they're going to have actual Meals on Wheels, bringing them 2 meals a day. So I'm not sure why they would need to have a stove there, but it does look like maybe they're not allowed to have it inside, which is a safety aspect.
Yeah,
So it makes sense. But what does concern me is the garbage. What
yep.
comes with garbage? Did they not just shut a park down because there was a rat infestation problem or a mouse infestation? There was a
Yep.
rodent infestation that we can confirm.
Yeah, that is downtown Halifax, Victoria Park. There is 100% a rodent problem
Yeah.
due to various reasons, but yes, that is a fact.
So with garbage comes, rodents. So these shelters, the province paid a lot of money for these. And if you've got garbage,
37,000 approximately per shelter.
$37,000 per shelter. Exactly.
That's what they were
Now,
quoted.
that's what we were told down here, the same thing. Now I'm thinking that if you've just throwing things like this, looks like clothing, a piece of clothing, and this is just garbage all strewn outside of it.
Yep.
It doesn't seem like there's any care to take care of what you've been given. And this is just one
Yep.
example of one. So I can't say that for all the entire shelter, but how do the people in the community feel about what's going on there?
People are genuinely concerned for multiple reasons. They're concerned about the type of people that are moving in, people who maybe don't fit the criteria for these pallets. We were told that they're low risk. That's who's moving in. They're people who um, basically can function on their own. It's proving that it's not necessarily the case. It's proving that there's an increase of multiple issues within the community. And people are concerned for various things like their property values going down because, I mean, like, who's going to buy a house
Well,
next
there's
to
already been
these?
people that lost sales here in Cape Breton on the street
Yep.
adjacent to where the shelter is supposed to go. Now, it's not even in place yet, and there's already been 2 homes that have lost their potential
Yep.
buyers. So, and
And
that's
I
just
don't
the
blame
one.
anybody if you want to buy a home to raise your family, like, and you can't be guaranteed. Yeah.
So we've got lots of people making comments on here. So Lester Strong says Beacon House may not be a safe injection site. They do look the other way to drug use.
Yes.
Now that's a concerning statement, Lester,
Yep.
because if this, look how close the proximity was to the school. And has there been anything happen where the children of the school have been exposed to anything because of the shelter being in their basically in the school's backyard?
They haven't noticed an increase of drug paraphernalia from needles, Coke bags, stuff like that. Like just anything, yeah, like just multiple
Nancy?
things, bottles of booze like thrown places. There's literally like it's
Wow.
definitely an increase. And I can tell you, like growing up in Sackville, like, yes, as any neighborhood, you would definitely see occasionally these things. But like, no, this is an increase, a noticeably big increase to notice this. This is not a, oh my God, we've seen it once. This is like a, yeah, we're noticing this problem and it's not going away.
Exactly. So, what do you think? As far as down here, the big contention of this whole thing, people are saying that the Pear people don't like homeless people. Wrong. It's 100% regarding the
Yeah.
location. It has to be placed in a location that is not going to disrupt the life of the people already living there, the taxpayers, the ones that own the homes, the ones who are contributing to our tax base. Now, if
Yeah.
you're going to ruffle every feather of every taxpayer in that community, I think that you should look at a different spot. Now, we've come up with a couple of different places here that are not in a residential area, that are
Yeah.
not close to homes, that are not close to daycares, not close to schools. They won't have anything to do with it. We
Yep. Same as
apparently just
here.
right? And for whatever reason, when you say the word location, it turns into some translation of you hate homeless. Now, I
Yep.
don't know what dictionary they're using because when I hear different location, the word homeless doesn't even come in there because it location is a place where something is placed, not I don't want to have anybody live there. No, we wanted them to live there. We want them to be warm and safe and everybody else safe. Why do we have to make one group endangered to have one
Yep.
group safe? Why can't we have it all the way? Why can't we have our cake and eat it too in this instance? Do you think?
Yep. I totally agree because it's at the end of the day, I don't think it's a matter of like everybody wants to see equality. That's literally what people want. Like nobody's saying nobody doesn't deserve a roof. What they're saying is that people who get a roof who also can't follow rules or abide by, like
Wow.
society shouldn't be first over seniors or families or children. Like they shouldn't
Right?
be the bottom people who are the afterthought. Like, well, maybe something might happen. Like, no, that's not what people are saying. The thing with this is they talked about moving the pallets to the Sackville Sports Stadium, which people were genuinely concerned because it basically shares the parking lot with the
Know that.
Sackville High School. So there was literally outrage on this location when it was first proposed. Well, now they moved it to a location that's at least 25 times worse than the first location that also had the same outrage. So it's like they moved it and expected it to be different, and that's not happening.
Now, I like this is an interesting comment here from T Moore, and T is such a well-educated and into everything. If you want to know something, this is the person you go to here in the island. Okay, so the so-called Alley Center is a front for money laundering through the CBRM in Halifax. Let's face it, peeps, they want us gone. The entire population of Cape Breton. Now, I don't know about the entire population, but there's a plan in place, T. I can tell you that. And as far as money laundering, I don't know about the laundering of money, but what I can say for a fact is that these programs, the ones that are running the harm reduction sites, the safe injection sites, they are out there like sharks with, a mad passion to make sure
Yeah.
that people like you and I, Stacey, look like we're monsters who hate homeless
Yeah.
people. And
Oh my god, I've heard it so much.
my brother died in a homeless encampment. I couldn't love people and saving people and wanting people out of the outside more than anybody. I get so emotional when I think about this because it's only been 2 years since my brother died in the hard, cold ground with a drug overdose and was homeless in an encampment. So I want people in homes, but I don't want to see the seniors and the children. I
Yeah.
don't want to see the other vulnerable populations destroyed because we helped one sector, and then we destroyed another. There's got to be a way where we can make it safe
Yeah.
for everybody, and everybody has a home, and everybody has shelter, and nobody has to worry about danger. And I don't see why we're looked at as monsters because that's what we want, Stacey. It's just not right why they're trying to label us as demons when we are really the ones coming in. We're not being paid anything, not a dime. I'm getting paid. How about you? What are you getting paid for your passion in this?
I get nothing. I just get told that I probably should switch sides, and I should probably like support
No,
enabling, and I should support grown adults
my
to
brother.
have no responsibilities. And I think it's wrong because a lot of people
Mhm.
in the Ask group, they've shared their stories. They have their people who've overdosed. They have
That's right.
why they maybe are not connected to people who are addicts or mentally unstable,
They're not
and
getting the correct help.
they're basically monstrified
Mhm.
because they cut that out. And it's like these people had to set up boundaries. Like, we're allowed to have boundaries. It's the
Yes.
same as I make notes in this group. I will ban people because as much as I love this group to be uncensored, my sanity is important too.
Yes.
Like, I'm
That's right.
allowed boundaries. People are allowed boundaries. These people are not in their families' houses or friends because they set those boundaries.
Because
Like,
they crossed the bridge and they can't go back. They burnt their bridges
right.
there. They got violent. They stole. They did something because, as
Yeah.
that poem I read, these addicts, if they don't get off the path of constantly being fed drugs, they're never going to be able to get off that cycle. When you have heard of an AA meeting that you go in and you grab a beer before the meeting starts, have you ever heard of people going for gambling problem and you play a little roulette before you get at the meeting, or
Yeah.
you're in an eating anonymous club and you have a big pile of donuts before you get into your meeting? Why are they treating drugs with drugs? You can't get off of drugs and get out of this
Yeah.
system if you're going to keep. They need to reallocate that money for these safe injection sites, for the harm reduction sites, and all these places that are making money off of our crisis. That money needs to go into rehab. It needs to go into mental health. They have to repivot the money flow. The path is broken. It's broken and it's
And
destroying
like,
the
and
community.
nobody's denying that our healthcare system is garbage.
Mhm,
Nobody is denying that.
mhm.
They're literally nobody. If somebody in Nova Scotia says that our healthcare is great, they're lying. Like, there's no way. There definitely needs to be more mental health supports. And I
Wow.
say this, they need to have more people who support mental health and are helping, who are
Yep.
properly educated and able to help people, not enabling,
Mhm,
because like you need to stop the enabling. You need to have people who are able to help people to recognize that,
mhm,
like, I'm an adult, I have responsibilities, and if I want to shoot up all day, then I'm
mhm.
not going to be going anywhere with my life. I need to constructively have a path with educated professionals to get me to that path.
Well, with that in mind, the way that they're enabling people, Do they look into the people who they're keeping on the drugs of, do they have children? What about the children? Does anybody even think about the children of the drug addicts that are just left to the children's aid system, left to the grandparents, left because they are not trying to do anything? They're just trying to sugarcoat their addiction because there's money to be made in addiction. There's no money. If they cure them all, then there's no job. So these program enabling people are keeping themselves in work while making everybody that doesn't agree with them look as monsters. Now they're being paid to.
And at the end of the day, if these people don't want help, then they shouldn't get help, because they have to want to better themselves. Like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. They have to have some type, like, I don't care what their motivation is. Maybe it is getting their kids back. Maybe it's owning a house and not a pallet. Maybe it's working towards a tiny home. Like, people forget these pallets are temporary. They're not meant for people to live in there forever. They're a space that's given so somebody can get back on their feet. So if somebody's in there being enabled and doing everything that they're doing in a tent,
why would they want to change?
Why would anybody want to do anything?
Well, here's what I likened it to before the show. I said, if I was being paid to be in a resort and I love beaches and I'm at a beach and I'm being delivered drinks all day long and I can tan and stay and swim, why would I ever do anything to get off the path of my dream life? Now, for someone who's in addiction, you're being fed drugs, you're getting your meals a day, you're getting to keep your welfare check, you're paying no bills, you've got air conditioning, you've got internet, you've got a bed to sleep in, a roof over your head. What initiative do you have to get off that path? There's none.
Literally none. Because you don't have to think about anything but drugs.
By the schools, so they have their next generation of work. Like, I question the motives behind these people that are selecting these locations and what they are thinking.
Yep. I mean, look at it this way. My son will be starting school in this September. Do I need to have a talk with him about needles? Because if they go for a walk, like, that is totally a possible thing with his class. They could go for a walk. Do I need to have a talk with him and be like, if you see something you don't like on the ground, like, don't touch it? Do I need to do that?
Right.
Like, to my son? Like, really? Really?
People have pets. You have pets, you're walking your pet at night, and then you hear your pet winch in pain. Now, Laura's got a good comment here. Kids have seen people shooting up first, fist fighting, and passed out. Why do parents have to explain that to their children? Why? Because somebody who works in a program that thinks that we should be able to just suck it up, buttercup, you hate homeless? No, it is 100% regarding location, and we want to protect our children. Why are people who are enabling themselves, keeping themselves in a crappy life, why do we, who are trying to do hard, who are fighting every day with our own demons to keep our own mental health in check, why do we got to put up with this? There's better places to have it where we don't need to be tripping over it and having our life changed because of it.
This is a very big province. There are tons of options. I actually made this a comment in my group a while ago, and I said, I don't want to fight about it. I don't want to argue. I just want to know, where's the best place? Like, what do you think? And there was so many comments, some of them the same, some of them I was like, no, I don't think that's definitely not a good one. But, like, there were so many that could have been explored. But because this, was right there presented, that's what they did. And it's like, that's insane. Like, that's not acceptable. And I don't think that kids should be the ones at the end of this. Like, I don't think communities who have built like Sackville, this area is like a generational family thing. I go there with my kids. I live just outside of Sackville. My kids will be going to the school there. My parents live there. My friends' parents live there. Like, this is a generational thing. This isn't like people move there. Like, I loved Sackville. I'm not super fond of it anymore. I'm definitely going to be thinking twice before I go to like the things in the summer, and probably go somewhere maybe different because of all this crap that happens.
It's true. It's putting a divide into our community, and there is enough things going on in the world right now between the cost of living and the housing crisis. We should be working together right now to help this crisis and not ripping each other apart over this crisis. And it is a crisis. It affects everybody in the area, everyone.
And there's no secret, like, there is a shortage of houses. That is not a secret. Like, they definitely need more housing, affordable housing. They need to do something with rent caps. I don't know. That's not a secret.
No.
But it's also not a secret that some people literally want everything for free. Like,
Well,
that's not a
there
secret either.
there's got in every society there's people looking for handouts. There's no doubt. There's
Yep.
swindlers and there's hustlers. That's not going to change. Now I want to get back to Angela's Mike's comment here. He said Angela McMillan Bombi, I think the eviction of the first resident hours after he moved in speaks volumes. Now with that being said, Mike, here's the thing. So if they get in there and they don't follow the rules and they do get evicted, then what? Then we're back at square one again,
Yep.
where we haven't done anything for the homeless. So with that being said, are we to just let them do whatever they want there? Are we going to let them follow the rules and then we still have the homeless crisis? So this again leads back to wrong path for solution. They need to get rehab. They need to get mental health services. That's how we know that this rinse and repeat cycle is broken, because as Mike has stated, this being evicted and becoming homeless again, that doesn't work. And how are they ever going to get off that course in life if we're not offering? If somebody's looking for help and you go to the hospital and the hospital turns you away, it might be months again before you look for help again. Or if you ever look for help again, that might have been the only time in their life that their family could have had a chance of getting their loved one back. Because we all know, as that poem that I read, they're not that person that we know anymore. They're not a good, loving person if they're using opiates. And the opiate crisis is real.
Yeah.
It's real. We all know someone who's been in our life that has gone down that road. And we know every one of us are terrified if they're using and they're in our life or near our life or impact our life.
And like, it bothers me that they didn't put money into detox. Why aren't they vetting these people and saying, hey, if you want to live for free here, you need to detox? Why are we not doing that? Then you can find out who really wants to better themselves and who doesn't. And if they don't, that's okay. That's their choice. But we should be prioritizing people who want to better themselves over people who don't.
Exactly.
Like, period. Because
Mhm.
some people are happy with what they're doing. Some people don't want to change, and that's their right. They're allowed to do that. But they also shouldn't be asking for money from people who are strangers and handouts of food and donations in that regard. Like, if you don't want
Mhm.
the help, then that's okay. But like, where's that type of help? Why is it when they're in the pallet homes, there's no type of, like, drug tests, for
Yeah.
example? And then it comes back to like, oh, well, people in homes don't get drug
True.
tested. Yeah. But you know what? People in their house who do drugs keep it into their house usually. They're not doing it in the community at the playground by the swings. Like, there's a
Exactly.
big difference.
It's true. Now, my Aunt Kim here, she says, and how about the loud these can be? So they're allowed to play their music. Another thing people are thinking, is this going to be a group? Because in Sydney, we're getting 30
Yep.
of these pallet shelters. So if you've got 30 and you can have up to 2 in each one, and a pet, which is fine. But if you've got 2 people in each one, we'll just say, for example, all right, and
Yep.
they're all having a time, okay, because they're all buzzed and they all got their
Yep.
music going. And well, hey, guy in Pallet Shelter B doesn't like the music in Pallet Shelter.
Yes.
Next thing you know, we've got full on pallet brawl here because
Yep.
it's just over something silly. Or, maybe they're trying to steal from them, because that happens. That's a huge thing that I keep hearing on the
Yep.
news.
That is 100% a thing. There's a reason why they want locks for tents. It's not because the outside community is going in robbing tents. It's because they're robbing from each other to whoever has the best stuff. Like,
it's true. Now Ryan's got a good message here. He's saying, down across from Walmart, Bedford Commons, tons of land. It's not close to homes, schools, or parks. Walmart and all that's in there for the convenience of these people needing assistance. Exactly. That's
Yep.
the same thing. Walmart is close to the location by the police station. It's got everything you need. It's got the police station, firefighters, the mall. It's got Walmart. It's got Dollarama. It's got the drugstore inside the Walmart.
Even in Sackville, people suggested Downsview Mall because, like, it's a big parking lot. I'm sure you could throw some down there. It's close to everything, but why not there?
Yeah. Well, you know what? They can really make a difference, and there are ways where they can make everybody in the community happy. If they're not going to change the path and the process of how they're they're handling this opioid crisis, then they can at least make the people who are, the taxpayer bases, the ones who are contributing to the economy, they can at least let them know that they're listening to them and they care about their worries. And right now, you said that there was nobody even knew. This was a surprise to the Sackville community. How did that make the taxpayers feel, the homeowners?
They definitely were not happy, mostly because, as I mentioned before, the 6 first generation pods, they were there before and they never announced it. They didn't announce really when the warming shelter became a regular shelter. They didn't really announce when the pods were there. And then, community members noticed different situations that were becoming more and more prevalent, and they're starting to wonder, why is this happening? And then it's like, really? There's pods there? Really? And it's something that they said they would, at the community meeting on February 15th, people asked, are they going to be vetted, these new people?
Yeah.
Well, they'll be asked some questions, but what are you asking? Are you going to be safe and put your cigarette butts in a container? Or are you going to throw them on the ground? What questions are you asking? And they would not clarify the questions.
They wouldn't do it here either, because those are questions that they don't know the answer to themselves. They know that when they go into work, they could be faced with any type of scenario. There could be emergency services called for any type of situation, because they know they're working in an industry that they have no idea what's going to happen from one day to the next. And if they're thinking that, what are the people who aren't in the industry, aren't getting paid, that are just trying to live their life and protect what you've worked so hard to own? So I like this comment here from Jillian Laurel Tobin. Comes a time when, whereas an adult, you make a series of choices. Those choices you have to live with. That it means living on the streets until you're finally ready to make the right choice for yourself. And it's sad, but it is true. When are we going to treat them as adults and put them in the right path and tell them this is wrong? Okay. And at least try to dry them out. At least try.
Yep. Oh, for sure. Totally. Do something. And that's why I said it. I think personally, it's super important to have people who are educated in this field. These are vulnerable people. Anybody knows that. I'm a human service worker. I know that. I have education. I can do this. But the job is so high demanding for multiple reasons, not very good pay, demanding hours, shift work, and it's a risk. Are you going to be stabbed with a needle? I know that's crude, but that's the reality of it. Are you going to be breaking up a fight where somebody has a weapon? That's what happens. Because realistically, yes, you can call the cops, but that's your job. You're supposed to be de-escalating. So
It won't change. Colin says, make Cape Breton our own province. Problem solved. It won't be problem solved, because the same people that are running, they're getting the government money in Cape Breton, the New Dawn and the Alley Center, they're not going to go anywhere, whether Cape Breton's a province or Cape Breton's a city in the province of Nova Scotia. So I like where you're going, but it won't change the outcome. We're just going through the comments here because I can't keep up with them. The comments are coming in so much. So keep talking, and I'll interrupt when I need to.
I just think it's a really slippery slope, and I just think that it's. I mean, I say it all the time. I think the people call them crack shacks, I guess, but they're basically glorified tents. I don't think they're really helping in the front of getting people off drugs. I think they're just putting them in a nice building to say that they now have a roof, but there's nothing. There's no consequences. And then like you said, what if they break the rules and they're out? Where are they going to go? Back on the streets. So what are we going to have, new encampments pop up? Is that what's going to happen?
Tina is one of the ladies I was telling you about prior to the show, who has Guardians of Recovery over in Newfoundland, and her son died in a low barrier facility. He took drugs, did drugs on the premises, and was given needles to do the drugs. He was used as a drug mule and sold drugs. Where's the recovery in that? So we have to fight for the people like Tina's son, like my brother, like the people who aren't here anymore, who have not got the mental health that they needed, that have not got the rehab that they were denied. We need to realign the money that are being paid to the services that are handing our loved ones drugs, knowing full well that our loved ones are lost while they're on this drug path. They're not who who we know. They are some black hole and a different version of themselves. And until they get off those drugs, how will they ever find themselves?
And people who have family members who are addicts or are mentally unstable or not
Mhm.
safe, like those people who have cut contact, they're not monsters. They cut them
Truly.
for a reason. As I said, like we're entitled to boundaries. And if a family doesn't want their addict stealing their grandmother's jewelry, then they're allowed to not allow them in their space. Like people who
Yeah.
set those boundaries are not, they shouldn't be monstrosized by it. And that's exactly what happens, because when someone says, "Oh, well, my family member was an addict. I don't see them unless it's at Tim's." It's like, "Well, you're an awful person for not allowing your family member." No, I like my stuff that I work for and I don't want it to be taken away
Right.
from me. Like that,
Exactly.
there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. And having people say that you're privileged, how dare they say something like that, that you've worked so hard for what you have, and what you have maybe, one paycheck away from yourself being homeless, and they don't care about how you got to where you are to own what you have. They just think that how dare you own what you have and be so protective of it.
Yeah.
Imagine if they had, this issue in their life and they had to worry about this. Liv was on a show with me. Recovering is the answer. Recovery is the answer. Enabling is the cancer. Exactly, Liv. And
Yep.
Liv
And
is
it's a
another
fine line. It is a very,
very,
very fine line. And
yeah,
normally the people who enable don't see it and they
no,
just give, 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 give. And it's
that's
like,
right.
no, you need to take the
Mhm.
step back and realize that you're helping nobody. Like not yourself. You're not helping the addicts or people who need issues beyond what they
Mhm.
can be provided. Like that's not,
Yeah.
no.
So we've got some hope here. So Liv is a recovering addict and she's doing fantastic. And she lives right beside the proposed area in Whitney Pier where they're wanting to put the pallet shelters. So she says, share hope, not dope, which is true. Tina, who lost her son uh, from an overdose, sober living cafes, sober homes, sober cities are emerging. It's the only hope I see. And you were so right, Tina. We have to make them see there is better on the other side. The grass is greener on the other side, but if we don't stop the drug train, they're never going to get their brains cleared and get off that way of thinking. And a lot of people are so harmed and abused in their life that the only comfort that they get is in drugs. But we have all of us have got some sort of a pain inside of us that if we tapped
Yeah.
into that and only focus on that, then that's going to be the only thing we're thinking of. They need to be retrained. The brain is a tool, and if you use it in the right way and you have the right environment around you, you can have yourself restructured to be in a healthy environment, to get
Yeah.
off of those drugs. There is ways to do it. But if we keep enabling and having these places getting the money, that's never going to change because they're
Never.
making a profit off of making our community sick, making our families sick. It's sickening.
It is 100%. And the excuses, like, I think I probably speak for a lot of people. Like, people need to
Mm,
stop making excuses and owning their responsibility. Like,
yeah,
we need to stop enabling, but also like if somebody does something wrong, they did something wrong. There's no
yeah,
excuse for it. There's no like own it.
yeah. I like Linda's comment here. Some people who have addictions have no support system that they can rely on. Their friends or druggies that encourage them. And it's true. And this is another huge point with the pallet homes here. So, what if you've
Yeah.
got the first 15 pallet homes are people that are actively using, but they vet 15 more people in the other pallet homes that aren't using? Well, do you think that if somebody is seeing what they're trying to escape on a daily basis, how long are they going to be able to fight those demons off before they say,
Yep.
fuck it? And they're back using again. And then all 30 of them are using it. And sorry for my
Yep.
language, but sometimes my passion takes over and I can't hold them back because that's what's going to happen. You can't keep sober and addicts in the same facility. Yes, we have a numerous variety. There's people down on their luck, that people that got reno-evicted, or they got, the landlords lied and their family moving in, but it wasn't family that moved in. It was just they put the rent up and anybody moved in. There's so many
Yep.
reasons why people are homeless, but not all of them are on drugs. But if we keep putting people who are actively using in and having them being looked after by the ones that are running the safe harm places and making it easily available for them to take drugs and putting them near schools, what do they think will happen? If you put shiny, pretty things or interesting things around people, they're going to want to check it out. We don't need our kids checking out the pallet shelters and the people that are there getting, lured in.
And I'm so tired of hearing, because it's a junior high, like, okay, parents need to talk to your
Yes, I'm
kids.
afraid to do.
Okay, these are grown adults. And I can tell you that if I was walking, behind where the pallets are, because that's where we used to go to the corner store to get food, I can tell you if an adult was hassling me, I'm probably going to give them my lunch money, because I don't have the confidence to tell a grown
Yep,
adult, no, you can't have
yep.
my money, or you can't have whatever else I have. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, we need to stop putting it on, well, parents need to educate your kids. No, we need to
Yeah,
put it on the people living there to,
yeah.
like, maybe not go up to the kids that are walking by with their soccer ball or something. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it needs to stop being put on the community, and the
Yes,
people living there need to have those responsibilities
they do.
also.
They do. But I go back to looking at that picture of the pallet shelter, and it's showing the garbage. So at
Yeah.
uh, what are they doing there? Those people that are getting paid to look after, and all of these services that are coming with the pallet homes. So it doesn't look like to me like garbage is something that's being concerned or cared about. And with garbage can bring so much other troubles. And that's just one aspect of it. Like I said, they're allowed to drink in their homes down here. They're
Yeah.
allowed to smoke, not smoke, but they're allowed to do drugs. So I don't understand on
Yeah.
how they're going to keep order when it seems to be a disordered whole. The way that the whole planning of it went in was so sneaky and underhanded, because they
Yeah.
knew people were going to lose their minds.
Well, that's another argument that people have said as well, is like, well, what's the matter with the pallets? The pods have been there a while. Right. People didn't know the pods were there. And if they had known that the pods were there, or that the warming shelter had turned into a regular shelter, I'm sure they would have been just as pissed a few months back or a year ago as they were now. It's just now they don't need to be, like, hidden behind a building. You can see them when you drive by. So yes, people are now mad because they know, but they were also mad last summer, last winter, when this stuff was happening and they didn't know about it either. Like, this isn't a new rage thing where they're suddenly like, no pallets. Like, they're not happy about it. Like,
So,
stuff has been happening.
right? Laura says, mention Beacon House told us how they're protecting us with daily needle sweeps. Melanie,
That
how
is such a
should be
joke.
hearing
It's such a
your
joke.
story, Tina. Yes, they should be, because Tina's got a very powerful story, very powerful, and she is doing so much over in Newfoundland with Guardians of Recovery, and everybody should check out Tina's group. This is again Guardians of Recovery with Tina Olivero. She has lost her son, and she could tell you all sorts of stuff that we need to know about why harm reduction is harm production. It is never going to help the crisis that we're in right now with the opiates, and this opiate crisis is going nowhere on the path that we're currently on.
I'm just Facebooking that
Yeah.
group so I can
All right.
so I can
So
see it.
we have no idea how they're categorizing risks of people and how they're vetting them to get them in there. We don't. And that again is very scary, because what is the criteria? And then when they're throwing them out, if they all decide to break the rules and then we're back to square one again, then what? Have they even contemplated that scenario?
Not even close.
No. So with the path that they're on, I could see nothing but, again, future failure here. And at what cost? When is it going to be enough of our tax-paying dollars? You know. So this is Nancy. As a recovered addict, this is insane. This doesn't just help the situation. You're adding to it. You're helping them die, essentially. I got clean because I got tired of the chase. They won't feel that if they are given. They won't feel that if they are given drugs. I opened a business, had children, even adopted a child, got my house. But you have to want it. I'm glad no one helped me, and thank
Yeah.
God for it daily. Because if you are handed things, the most proudest thing you're ever going to have in your life to brag to people about is the hardest thing that was ever for you to get to. It wasn't something that you just got easily. It was something that you worked and struggled for years, and then you finally did it. Okay, and that's what it's like for an addict to finally own something. It's that kind of, oh my God, I did it kind of moment. And
Yeah.
my brother's not here because he was failed by the system and he didn't get to do it. And I only had one brother. And because the system failed him, I do this now. So this is me trying to get some sort of justice to make sure that he didn't die for nothing and that nobody else has to lose their only brother or their son or their family member because the system failed them. That's why I do this for him. Sorry, like I said, I get emotional with this. It's hard
Hey,
not
it's
to.
it's a very emotional topic, even without having situations like that. Like it's a very taxing topic. If you have this opinion on the situation, you definitely get talked about.
Yep,
You definitely are monstrosized
yep,
because if you don't love the homeless, you hate them, and that's
that's right.
definitely not how it is.
Mhm. It's
But
true. Here's my
yeah,
mother. If the government wouldn't have let the the migrants in without having our own people housed, the housing crisis would not have happened. They're interesting in getting the migrant vote, and that's what's the long and short of it. So my mother's against politics because uh, politics is very corrupt, and it is. I don't know where you're watching from, but things happen for a reason in all these different regions, and it sometimes feel like our government is failing us in every way we turn with
yeah,
money being spent in areas that they have no business spending it and just abandoning the people who live here like we're not worthy. Well, we are worthy and we have our feelings should be heard, and you know, worrying about who is in your community and how the community is being affected by what you put there, that should be listened to. It should be important. Did the premier
agreed.
go to your meeting? The premier came to our meeting
No,
down
I don't think he came to our meeting. I think he
no.
was done. There was yeah, it was definitely um I think it was eye-opening to people, but yeah,
Mm,
he was not at our meeting, and if he was, it would just mean that more people of the
you're right,
community were
Tommy.
not allowed in the room
Hmm.
because yeah, they only there was definitely a lot of people that were turned away because their space was not large enough and they didn't think that there would be that big of an issue with the community. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's how the government really failed both your community and mine. For the fact they didn't have a meeting with you guys. They pulled it in sneakily, okay, and they didn't
Yep.
let anybody know. That was a crime against your community in my mind because if there's a new
Yep.
store or a new business, anything going on in the community that's positive, it is advertised to everybody knows that it's coming before it's even started.
Yep.
Now, for your community to start seeing a increase in crime, and that's how these pallets and pods were noticed, was because of the neighborhood going backwards. Well,
Yep.
what does that tell you about the people running your community? That's a sign. It's a
Oh,
sign of
yeah,
your.
and there was even people that mentioned that there was different things that were coming, like
Mhm.
Sackville, where I grew up, is definitely not the same. There's a Sobeys there, I think a liquor store express. There's like, there's various stores that were not there. Like when I was there, it was a Key Largo's and like that was it. Like a
Right?
restaurant and a Needs. That's where I grew up. So like they had different meetings for those things, but like not for these. Like, there is definitely no consultation for these at all. Like, there is
Right?
not even a peep. There wasn't a memo. There wasn't a picture on a telephone pole. There is not a single thing.
No, and that's just goes to show on how the government is not addressing the needs of everyone. They're trying
Yeah.
to be sneaky about it. If this was such a good thing, this would be embraced by everybody. And it's just the way that they're doing it. They're trying to turn the communities and divide them and make one group look like they're the saviors, and the people who are fighting for their homes and fighting to have their communities saved or not changed look like monsters. It's not about entitlement. It's not about
Yeah.
privilege. It's none of those things. It's about you worked hard for something, and how dare somebody alienate you and make you look like a bad person because you want to protect your home, your
Yep.
investment, because you worked hard for something. I don't understand the mindset of people that come off as you're
And
the bad guy.
I'm tired of hearing people say that you have a roof and you're privileged because I'm telling you that there's probably people who have a roof and are
Mhm.
living way worse than people who are homeless because they don't have the hot meals, they don't have
Mhm.
donation of clothes, they're wearing things that are probably destroyed, but they don't have anything else. Like, there's people who may have a house, but they don't have anything else in their life. So, like, they're not privileged because they have a roof. And to me, privileged
Mhm.
is like, I came into money or I won the lottery.
Right.
Working your entire life and having nice things because that's what you choose over other things like gambling or drugs or, neglecting yourself, whatever. That's not a
Right.
privilege. That's a
No.
sacrifice that somebody made and was
Exactly.
responsible to do.
Right? See what Tina says? Wait till they start burning them down. She said that's what happens over there in Newfoundland. Give them something beautiful and supply them with everything under the sun that we don't even do for our seniors or our disabled or our people who can't afford
Yeah.
anything. We don't do this. We're not delivering them 2 meals a day for free, giving them free rent, free heat,
No.
free lights, free Wi-Fi, free air conditioning, a free bed to sleep in. We're not doing any of
Yeah.
those things for people who have way less than the homeless or have people that are taking care of them for, because they need a nurse and they can't afford it and they're not even able to get into a nursing home because there's no beds. We're doing more for people who do nothing for the
Yeah.
entire economy, and we're looking like the monsters. What
And
is wrong?
if they want help, great. That's perfect. Use the
Mhm.
services that people are providing. But
Yeah.
if you literally don't want to put into any effort, like as simple as
Right.
following rules in pallet
It is,
shelters,
Tina.
then you shouldn't get a pallet shelter. If you can't follow rules, and
Huh.
this is not like rules are not new. We as a society have
These
rules.
are
If you rent an apartment, if
right.
you are leasing a building for your like business, there's rules, like, these are
Mhm.
not new. This
Exactly,
is
Liv.
not something that popped up. Like, you abide by rules in life. That's life. That is literally life. There's rules. So if you can't follow something for your free
Tammy.
life,
Right.
then you probably shouldn't get it, period.
Wow. So the comments are coming in so quick. I can't keep up with them. I can't put them on the screen fast enough. Honestly, they're just everybody's got such great comments, such great input, and uh, I just would be an entire show just going through the comments. So this is what we're thinking. These are our thoughts, and basically letting people know what is going on in Sackville and how your community
Yeah.
has gone downhill. Is fair to say?
Majorly, yeah. There's definitely, I mean, I have 5 situations, I guess, since they've actually happened. Like, since this has come to Sackville, I guess. And this is just what people have
Sorry,
told
Tina.
me because, like, people don't wanna speak up about it because of obvious reasons, like, they don't wanna handle the pressure, the stress.
Mm,
So,
right.
like I mentioned earlier, the pods, they've been there since December of 2022. So, April 2023, multiple bus drivers who drove kids to school have seen an intoxicated person in a ditch where children have said, "Is this man dead?" So the bus driver now has to say, like, no. There's been a fight on a metro bus between homeless people. I don't know the date for that, but that is another situation. June
Corruption, Angela.
2023, there's been an alcoholic.
Mhm.
I assume because they've had a very large bottle of vodka trying to approach a family's playing. The person said they only think the reason why they didn't go super close to the families was because a man had stood up that was with them and kind of like kept them away. But like, if you're drunk, I guess you don't
Yes.
really know boundaries.
Mhm.
There's been domestic violence instances. This was actually at the ball field in Sackville. That was documented
Thank
on
you.
Facebook and confirmed by somebody there.
Thank you.
Um, there's also been the people who were working on the shelters at the end of January who noted that people were passing vodka bottles and
Yeah.
drinking beer for the day and started at 7 a.m. So, I mean, like, these are different people confirmed with me that like this isn't a conspiracy theory. This isn't the community making up stories. These are literally people sharing their experiences that are collaborative
Right there.
collaborate
Collaborated. Yeah.
yeah, like English is hard. Making the
Mhm.
big picture. Like these are not isolated like I mean, I guess yes, they are isolated incidences, I guess,
Right,
but
Doug.
they're like a big picture that people need to stop ignoring
It's
because
true.
like they're only adding more people to this mess. Like it's
Yes.
not going to get better. It's not going to magically go away. It's just going to be
Mhm.
more.
Well, Tina's saying, wait till they start beating each other up and turning the pods into a drug dealing center, like what they've done
Yep.
in Vancouver. What's the East
Yep.
Hastings? Is that where it's at? Yeah, the absolute nightmare of all of Canada. Well, we're all in mini developments of that. In case anybody hasn't noticed that yet, that's what's taking place. And that's if we don't stand up here and make ourselves heard and have this government force to change the way things are happening with our opiate crisis, we're going to have our children are all going to be dead. They're going to have this crisis will grow so exponentially that we'll all be living in a pallet shelter because there's going to be no place for us to live, and it's just going to become an epidemic on top of an epidemic. And it's just I can't
And
even
this is
fathom.
not normal. Like I don't care what people say.
No,
Like people have said, "Oh, this is normal."
no, it's not.
I'm 34. I've lived in Sackville my almost entire childhood. I lived on one
Hmm.
side of Sackville. I moved literally down the street. I went to Leslie
Hmm.
Thomas. I graduated from Sackville High. I've taken human services, child and youth, drug courses for my education. Like
I said that
this
too.
didn't happen. Like,
Class
I
action
went to
lawsuit.
Sackville High when there was, like, a fight club where people would fight by the lake. I know, not the best moments, but, like,
No.
there has not been these types of situations there
So
ever.
here's
And if
and
they
I'm
had, it
50.
might have been, like, once in 10 years, but this has
You know,
never happened.
and it's true. And you're 34, I'm 50, and
Yeah.
I've never seen it. What we literally need
Yeah.
to do in Atlantic Canada is we need to find a lawyer who will take on this as a class action lawsuit against all of our governments because they're all under the same mindset. Do what they feel is right for us while we suffer under their changing and their rules. This doesn't work for the majority. We can't have the few making decisions that ruin life for the many. It just we can't sit here and take it. We can't. We
Yep.
literally need to do something about it, and we have to start. Tina's right. We need to start pooling our resources. We need to start working together. Newfoundland, PEI, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. We have to start coming together, and we need to address this as an Atlantic region, not just individually, because it's happening in every one of our communities
Yeah.
across the Atlantic
And
provinces,
that's
across
why
Canada.
people that's why it's it's frustrating because like yeah,
Mm-hmm.
my the Facebook group that I made was low key because of censorship. Yes.
It,
And
yeah.
it's turned into like a homeless hub where everybody posts it. But the
Mm-hmm.
reason for that is because any other Facebook page, group, whatever, some groups they don't want to hear that stuff in it and that's totally okay. If they don't want to have this kind of stuff and run a different thing, that's their right. They have their page
Mm-hmm.
or group, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, don't complain when everybody comes here because they
We
feel
do.
safe. They
Mm-hmm.
wanna voice their concerns because, like, when
Mm-hmm.
you're sitting there, I can tell you from the beginning, like, when the encampment first came to Sackville, it
You're
was, like,
welcome, Baron.
October, November when it was became official. Myself and a few friends, we would literally be there like, "How can nobody see this? How can nobody see the enabling? How can nobody see it?" And then slowly as people speak up, you get more and more people who are like, "Wow, I also see that. I'm not crazy. I do also feel the same way." And now
Yeah.
it's like now I'm told I'm a conspiracy theorist. Like that's not
It's coming
it's
from
not
the
a
people.
conspiracy when it's the truth. Like
These
that's not.
programs are meant they're funneling corrupt money. This if this money was helping anybody other than the ones who own the programs that own these organizations, those are the only people that are benefiting from what's going on here. All right. The only thing that changes from your region to my region is which nonprofit, which corrupt organization is taking the money in to help the crisis. And
And
their way
people get mad when they want to boycott the Beacon House. You know what? Honestly, I never really did a whole lot to the Beacon House. I tried to donate clothes, and they weren't accepting for whatever reason, and I never
wow.
went back.
No.
But people are like, how can you boycott? They do a lot. You know what? A lot of nonprofits who are reputable, who help people for years and years and years, not these mom and pop things who see an opportunity and take it. Like people like Souls Harbor, I don't know, like Shelter Nova Scotia, like different things that have been around literally decades. Why are we not supporting different programs with these reputable nonprofits like Beacon House? Honestly, this type of thing could probably put it under because nobody wants to help when they're not even helping other people.
Yes. Places like Liv Howard saying, our food banks, Souls Harbor Rescue Mission. Those people are,
Right.
they're feeding people. They're making meals. They're bringing in clothing. They're making sure they have what they need.
Like
Allies-
Byrony House is another one, like a women's shelter. Add some Phoenix youth programs. Like these are programs that are around. Like I think it would have been different if people also knew that Beacon House got the $300,000 ahead of time instead of like at the meeting when they basically were saying, "Hey, we're holding a community meeting because I guess you can speak your concerns," but it didn't matter because it was already happening.
When you said that Beacon House received $300,000 for this project. Now, why would they receive $300,000? Because what they're telling us here down in Cape Breton is it must be on provincially owned land only. No other land will do, apparently, according to the government and what they're telling people. So it seems like they're telling a different story in each region. Now, we've got the same government here in Nova Scotia, so I don't see why the story would change so much. So this is how we know that these programs are enabling the people to keep themselves in money that's going to never end from the government, because if we don't make the government change the way that the money is being allotted and have the programs that will work, like mental health and rehab services, then this is not going to get any better. It's just going to keep putting more money into these corrupt organizations' pockets.
The fact that they couldn't commit to 3 sweeps of their property a day. 3 sweeps, one is 22 minutes. That's an hour max. An hour max. I know. I went to church there. I used to play the games at the fall fair. It does not take that long to do a sweep. Number 1. Number 2, if they can't commit to 3 in a 24-hour span, I don't understand how they can instill trust into the public that people are safe, that paying taxpayers are safe when they don't even instill that they can do 3 sweeps a day from one.
So I'm going to read something that Liv said, put in here from the Alley Center, which is the harm reduction, the safe injection site in Sydney. So the Alley Center is leading the charge on the intake process, which is for our pallet shelters, which includes the vulnerable assessment tool. So there's some sort of a vulnerable assessment tool. It doesn't let me click the link, of course. They have begun the intake process for individuals, so we're able to get people housed as soon as possible whenever the pallets open. Still heard nothing from the province about when or where the pallets will open. Since the intake process is quite lengthy for each person, taking over 2 hours to complete per person, getting the process starting early is important. Now, when we ask them anything about their vetting, who's going there, it's crickets, because none of our
they didn't say anything here either. Some people ask different questions. They're not looking at criminal records. They're not looking at anything. I will say, just because this is in a video, if you scroll down the Ask Nova Scotia group, people took videos of the meeting because they turned so many people away. Somebody asked if a sexual predator was in a pod, and they said yes, but they were not aware of the situation. When they did, they removed that person. Now I'm assuming that they probably need to be more than 210 meters away from a school or children under the age of 16 if they are those type of people. But like the vetting process, they never said, they just said it was questions. They didn't say what questions, they didn't say what criteria. It's just that these people are low risk
Yeah. And
So,
I
like,
mean,
what
who is
is
it
low
low risk?
risk?
Yeah.
What's low risk?
Low,
Is it someone who can, like, function by themselves? Is it
yeah.
someone who, like, harms themselves only, or,
Yeah.
like, is careful like, what is the low risk? Is it that they won't steal from you, but maybe they'll steal
Well,
from Walmart? Like, what is low risk?
I already don't trust their judgment. So whether it's a low risk, high risk, medium risk, because they already decided that the community's not worth taking their opinions, not worth listening to their concerns. They just want to do whatever they feel like doing because they're only worried
Yep.
about a paycheck, worried about the money coming in from the government, and they could care less about the community of where they're actually going to be placing all of the controversy. If you are trying to make things work, then you should listen to the people who live in the areas. When there are definitely places, I've seen people post on here where you're at, there are other places that are non-residential where these pallets could have went. In here where we're at, there are
Yeah.
non-residential places where these pallets could have went. But why are they not listening and putting them into these other places? Because they would rather have people upset rather than businesses upset. Well, businesses have money to make to pay for security. I mean, they have security. They've got people watching cameras. They've got people watching for shoplifting. People don't have that kind of money to put around
They're
their
not
yard,
shoplifting from the people they live with, they're going out in
right?
the community and taking stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're
Exactly.
doing, because I'm assuming that their little shelters have locks. They're not gonna
It's
be
true.
picking locks on there, they're gonna be going to the backyard with a bunch of trees and a shed. That's what they're doing, like,
Well,
even where
and
the ball field was in Sackville, there's been
right,
residents around that area who've said, "My stuff has been stolen, I've needed cameras." That's where the ball field, these are the same types of people that are going there.
exactly, Tina.
This isn't a surprise, like,
It's
you
true,
know?
right? They're not in this boat from volunteering at church too much. They've gone down a bad path, and they're not on any type of path that's going to change the trajectory of their life,
No.
and it's just going to continue to
And
get
why
worse.
would they? Why would they when they have everything? There's no motivation.
It's true. So, on that note, what we need to do is for this program, I think the main thing is we need to come together, all of us in all of our areas here in Atlantic Canada, because we're all not being heard by our governments. We're all being treated like our concerns aren't valid. All of our communities are being invaded by programs that are corrupt money funneling government enablers that are not helping with our opiate crisis. They're creating it, and they're just exponentially blowing the opiate crisis up. We need to come together as Atlantic Canadians, and we need to get a class action lawsuit together so that we have the power. There's a
Yeah.
picture that they show of a bunch of little fish all containing together so that they build a great big huge fish and they eat the shark. We need to become all the little fish pull together so we can become the controlling one in this equation. We need to fight. We need to have the fight of our life, and we need to find a lawyer who will do this for us. We need to do that. So if
Which is
anything comes out of
probably
this,
gonna be challenging because nobody wants to really talk about this because,
we
homeless
do.
haters, if you disagree, that's exactly what it is. Homeless haters. No, that's not
But
no.
look at the comments tonight. We can see that we are being bullied and manipulated online, and they're using their power as organizations, as people being paid to monitor, to spy, to infiltrate our groups and make us look bad. But we're fighting back, Stacey. Look at us. Look at Tina. Look at Sasha. Look at all Liv. There's so many of us that are just we're at our wits end now. We
It's
see what
because
they're
people
doing.
think that when you have a group of individuals who
Mhm,
form these cliques or these groups, whatever you will, I don't even know what to call them, but if you have these people, they're seen as
mhm.
heroes. They're seen as people who are,
Ah,
giving them the support they need. Well, if they had the support they need that have been there for 5 and 6 months, they probably would be out of that situation.
where's the
And
track record of the people they've helped? Where's their accountability
where,
of all the good they've
where,
done? Show me.
where,
I'm a
where?
numbers person, and they will have very few success stories to show.
And
They
I
can
can
show.
also say confidently from my sources, because I know I know people know that I do have sources
That's right, Tina.
because, like, I've been banned from Facebook groups. I know people know that I
Mhm.
do have sources, and
That's right,
that's
Tina.
totally fine. But I can
Hmm.
say with confidence, people have said from these
Excellent.
sources that
Mhm.
the people they're dealing with are not the
Right,
people
Liz.
who are reno evicted. They're not people who are down on their luck. They don't
No.
even hear from those people because those people
Yeah.
are too busy, like, getting back up.
Exactly.
People don't become homeless and start smoking crack the same night.
Right? Exactly.
Like, they're
And
gonna be doing what they can get to get back to where
that's
they
right.
were.
We need to
Like,
do it. Mhm.
like, that's it's
We
frustrating.
What we need is we need one lawyer. One lawyer is all we'll need, because between all of the Facebook power we have, between every province in Atlantic Canada, I know a group and a fantastic person in every single province that's running a group that will get the people. If we can get one lawyer to take us on and to fight our government, that's all we need, because we've got the power of the people. We just need to have the lawyer to get in there and to get all the
Yeah.
legalese done, and that's it. It will be a done deal. So if there is a single lawyer that is in Nova Scotia, that's in Prince Edward Island, that's in Newfoundland, that's in New Brunswick, and you want to help the Atlantic Province people, now is your time to shine, because you will have more people behind you in this class action lawsuit than you could ever think possible. So with that, I've got a show coming on at 10 o'clock. Just want to have a little downtime between this one and that one. Guys, thanks so much. If anybody else wants to have a show, talk about what's going on in your neighborhood with the opiate crisis, with the all of this drug enabling places that are destroying one community at a time, please reach out to me, Janet Dermody here at Cape Breton Originals. Reach out to Stacey Girard.
Yes, I'll actually make a pinned post in the group, and I can make it like a homeless/pallet pin,
Please,
and then
Mike,
people can like join
spearhead
each
it.
other's groups. Just be prepared because there's
Yep,
gonna be people that are trolling and saying
yep.
you're haters. So
Look,
make
it's
sure that your moderation is
yeah,
definitely up to top notch because we've
yes.
had to do that a lot.
Thanks, Baron. Look, guys, trust me and Stacey. They are people out there making us look like we are demons, but we are not. We are fighting for the community. We get paid nothing. Our gratitude is making sure that our seniors and our children and our communities are safe. That is what our end game is. Safety for everyone. On that note, have a great night, guys. Share this. We need to get a lawyer because we have a class action lawsuit that we need to plan. Have a great evening, guys.